Drifting on a transport back to Nagoya, they narrates his journey toward the next stop at Mino-Uda. A sudden, violent impact and the screech of wheels shatter the peace, signaling a catastrophic shift in reality. Waking from the chaos, he discovers his precious companion has inexplicably morphed into a young girl with cat ears. Staring in disbelief, he is greeted by a confused Naya from the human-cat hybrid now sitting before him. Despite the transformation, he recognizes Yu's essence and prepares to disembark at their abrupt final stop. Stepping onto the platform, he questions his sanity as he observes conductors with animal ears in a location that is definitely not Nagoya. Reality fractures as he wonders if they were transported to a different world, while Yu grips his hand for reassurance. A towering station master intervenes, asking if the bewildered travelers are facing any trouble at Harpertown station. The master introduces himself as Kurigane Takumi and politely inquires about the protagonist's identity. Suddenly, the catgirl pops out and cheerfully declares that Nyachi is Nyachi, breaking the tension. 1 year later, a steam train chugs through a scenic landscape, marking the passage of time in this new world. Takumi, now a conductor, warmly thanks the passengers for enduring their long journey on the Rosa's Harper line. He narrates his new role at Harpertown Station, a position secured through the kindness of the station master. Passengers compliment his uniform, highlighting the peaceful coexistence between humans and the animal-eared Ajin. Takumi describes the 150-year technological regression, noting the reliance on firewood and coal due to the lack of electricity. Watching the sunset, he finds comfort in the classic atmosphere that mirrors the flow of time from his previous life. His patrol is interrupted when he spots a girl sleeping on a bench, realizing a blunder has occurred. As he approaches to check on her, his sudden presence startles the sleeping girl into a panic. Terror seizes the girl, and she unleashes a piercing scream at the sight of the uniformed conductor. Scrambling away in fear, she forces Takumi to give chase while shouting for her to wait. The escape fails as she trips and collapses, sobbing that she overslept and missed her stop on her first train ride. Panic intensifies as she realizes she accidentally rode without paying and worries about her future at a new home. Takumi comforts the weeping girl, assuring her that since it was unintentional, she won't be charged a fee. However, the relief is short-lived as he informs her that the last train has already departed for the day. Desperate and penniless, she begs Takumi to allow her to stay at the station until morning. Takumi offers a better solution, inviting her to stay at his home on the second floor of the station's cafe. He leads her to the establishment, revealing that he moonlights as the master of the in-station cafe. Nyachi enthusiastically welcomes them to Cafe Tsubame as they step through the door. The guest's admiration of the antique interior is cut short when Nyachi zooms past, startling her. Curious, Nyachi peeks at the visitor while Takumi explains that the catgirl is a staff member living with him. The guest introduces herself as Natal Gerald, while Takumi gently scolds Nyachi for her rude approach. Nyachi mischievously claims to be Takumi's wife, causing Natal to apologize for intruding on a couple. Flustered, Takumi denies the marriage while Nyachi guides Natal upstairs to her guest room. Alone in the kitchen, Takumi ponders the menu until his stomach growls, demanding attention. He reflects on the building's history, noting that the cafe space was originally the station's waiting room. Takumi reveals that opening a cafe was his dream in the previous world, now made possible by the station's light workload. While cooking a hamburger steak, he admires the char and consults a guide on running a handmade cafe. Dinner is served as he calls out to the girls to come down and eat. Natal is awestruck by the extra juicy iron pan hamburger, claiming she has never seen such luxury. She offers a tearful, devout prayer of gratitude, confusing Takumi and Nyachi with her intense formality before eating. Takumi serves the sizzling iron pan hamburger to his guests, and when asked about the sauce, Natal excitedly mimics Nyachi's request for half and half. As Natal cuts into the meat, her eyes widen in shock as savory juices explode onto the plate with a wet sound. Taking her first bite, she is transported to culinary heaven, trembling as the trapped soup inside the meat melts blissfully in her mouth. Seeing her struggle with the heat, Nyachi helpfully recommends eating the salad to soothe her mouth and prevent burning her tongue. Takumi explains that the salad features bonito prepared as a confit to imitate the tuna salad he fondly remembers from his previous world. Natal devours the salad, enraptured by the sweet-sour naranja and crisp lettuce, wishing she had 3 mouths to consume more of the otherworldly flavor. She continues to eat voraciously, overwhelmed by the sheer quality of the meal as she alternates between the salad and the burger. Tears suddenly stream down her face, causing a concerned Takumi to ask if the taste is displeasing while Nyachi looks on in confusion. Natal denies it, sobbing that she feels guilty for troubling them with such an elaborate dish, as she has never tasted anything so wonderful in her life. Nyachi innocently reveals that this gourmet feast is actually their standard dinner, leaving Natal dumbfounded by the revelation. Takumi explains that to avoid waste, he simply repurposes leftover cafe ingredients for their evening meals, shocking Natal further. He details how he minced leftover pork from lunch for the burger and boiled down the brown stew sauce to create the rich topping. While Nyachi beams with pride, Natal is stunned that leftovers can taste this good, prompting Takumi to apologize for the humble fare. Laughter echoes into the night sky as smoke rises gently from the chimney of the station cafe. Hands scrub dishes in the sink, cleaning up the kitchen after the eventful meal. Takumi observes Natal washing dishes with professional skill, deducing from her confident demeanor that she is indeed a chef. Sitting on the steps with Nyachi, Takumi wonders if Natal is traveling to a chef job, noting that even a third-class ticket is expensive for most. Looking at Nyachi, he recalls how Natal's helplessness reminded him of their own arrival in this world and the confusion they felt. In a flashback, the station master explains to a younger Takumi that intersecting parallel worlds caused their time slip phenomenon. The station master asserts their arrival wasn't a coincidence and suggests the transformed girl is likely Takumi's wife, despite her changed appearance. Declaring it the will of God, the station master watches compassionately as Takumi gently takes the confused girl's hand. Takumi admits she always had cat-like traits, but confesses he is at a complete loss regarding what to do next in this strange land. The station master kindly offers them lodging on the station's second floor for as long as they need to get on their feet. Grateful for the help, Takumi accepts the offer and leads you toward their new temporary home. Holding her hand tightly, Takumi resolves that despite the shock, everything will be fine as long as they stay together. Back in the present, Takumi prepares for bed, telling Nyachi he is turning off the lamp as she drifts off. Gazing at her sleeping form, he confirms she is definitely you, recognizing her small hands and soft cat ears. However, he acknowledges that the existence known as you vanished along with her memories during the train incident. Nyachi sleepily opens her eyes, asking if her master isn't sleepy yet. Takumi brushes off his thoughts and bids her good night, deciding to sleep as well. The next morning, a tearful Natal receives a package from Nyachi as Takumi warns that her train is departing soon. Takumi salutes and Nyachi waves energetically as Natal shouts her thanks from the moving train window. Wiping her tears, Natal resolves to do her best as an apprentice chef at the mansion she is traveling to. Curiosity strikes her as she wonders what the station staff gave her, recalling their kindness. She opens the box to find a treasure box of HLT tortilla rolls and a note from Takumi and Nyachi wishing her luck. Taking a bite, she trembles with emotion, realizing she didn't know cooking could be this wonderful. With fresh tears and a full heart, she vows to give her new path everything she has as the train carries her forward. The steam engine's whistle heralds a bright morning as they addresses the passengers directly. Takumi grinds coffee beans, recalling the depressed state of his past life before business negotiations. Drawn by the irresistible fragrance, a regular customer decides to visit Cafe Tsubame before work. Takumi and Nyachi warmly greet Gustav for his usual morning service inside the station cafe. Gustav expresses delight upon finding his favorite seat still empty and settles in comfortably. The amber liquid pours into the cup, releasing a spicy scent that warms the body and soothes the soul. Takumi serves a cup of cinnamon coffee, introducing it as a favorite recipe from his previous world. He explains that while the combination was rare to him initially, the scent now calms his nerves. A flashback reveals Takumi made a horrible mistake with a passenger's baggage when he first arrived. The station master had offered him this specific coffee to calm him down after the incident. Gustav takes a sip and is surprised to find the unfamiliar blend very delicious. Nyachi remarks that it is normal to take time to get used to new things. Takumi is encouraged to slowly find his own rhythm and care for passengers in his own way. He reveals that the cup mark on the signboard represents his wish to make people smile like the coffee did for him. Nyachi presents the morning service set consisting of toast, hard-boiled egg, and salad. Gustav eagerly cracks the hard shell of the egg to reveal the contents within. He admires the fluffy white and the refreshing orange yolk boiled to perfection. Sprinkling salt, he declares the simple hard-boiled egg to be the supreme pinnacle of cooking. He praises the maize bread's crisp surface and soft middle, claiming the meal feels like a dream. Gustav attempts to pay, but Takumi refuses, citing the free service as his pride as a Nagoya native. Takumi mentions that while breakfast is free, the number of lunch customers has happily increased. Gustav asks about the lunch menu, and Takumi reveals he has already started preparations. Gustav departs to catch the first train to Narc City while Takumi prepares to check tickets. As the train departs, Nyachi salutes the leaving passengers and promises to do her best. The next train arrives on schedule, and the duo busies themselves helping passengers with baggage. Takumi hands over the last piece of luggage, advising the passenger to be careful. Suddenly, a small girl runs past Takumi and dashes into the second-class car used for baggage. She barricades the door from the inside, ignoring the conductor's demand to open it. The girl, named Lyanna, clutches a teddy bear and refuses to leave, insisting she wants to stay on the train. Her mother is distraught, but Lyanna stubbornly declares she wants to live there. Takumi approaches the door and gently asks Lyanna if she really likes the train. He entices her to come out by offering a special seat alongside her mother. Lyanna is captivated by the wonderful scenery visible from the window seat inside the cafe. Since she cannot drink coffee, Takumi offers hot milk, though she remains grumpy about the commotion. Takumi offers to make a child-friendly lunch that looks like an adult's meal to appease her. Nyachi volunteers to handle the drink preparation while Lyanna waits. The catgirl heads to the garden and happily finds fresh strawberries. Takumi realizes Nyachi's plan as she returns with the harvested fruit. Inspired by a cute bento container, Takumi decides on the perfect lunch menu. He begins cooking, flipping fluffy pancakes in the pan with a confident smile. Nyachi triumphantly finishes her task, presenting a towering stack of pancakes that wobbles precariously on the plate. Takumi unveils a special drink made from freshly harvested frisa, describing it as a treat designed specifically for adults. He explains that the thick frisa ole blends pureed local strawberries with milk to create a rich, pulp-filled beverage. Nyachi mischievously claims the drink helps one grow big in certain areas, causing Lyanna to look down at her own chest in self-conscious shock. Flustered, Lyanna swats at the air while Nyachi teasingly denies any specific implication, enjoying the little girl's reaction. Taking a sip, Lyanna is instantly captivated by the sweet and smooth flavor, her heart racing from the sheer deliciousness. Takumi changes the subject to food, mentioning a dish from his hometown designed especially for children's enjoyment. He announces he has prepared a special kids' lunch set for adults, just for Lyanna, sparking her indignation that she is not a child. Lyanna stares blankly at the table, confused to find absolutely nothing placed before her despite his grand announcement. Takumi smiles confidently, stepping forward to begin a live plating performance right before her bewildered eyes. He starts assembling the dish, placing a juicy piece of tadonho in the center to serve as the head of his creation. Next, he pours a rich seafood curry sauce into the hollow center of a fluffy soya flour pancake. He adds the finishing touches with frisa jam dessert and crunchy fried chicken seasoned with refreshing limon. With a flourish of gravy steam, the dish is complete, revealing itself to be a perfect edible replica of the Rosa's Harper steam locomotive. Lyanna's eyes sparkle with recognition as she realizes he has combined all the lunch sets into one magnificent train-themed meal. Takumi explains that the kids' lunch set allows one to enjoy small portions of everything, combining the best of sets A, B, and C. Other customers clamor to order the same masterpiece, but Takumi firmly refuses, declaring it an exclusive creation for Lyanna. Lyanna digs in with pure joy, crunching on the juicy food and thanking God for the blessing of this meal. While Lyanna enjoys the gooey, stretchy queso, the other customers grow restless and demand their own food. The cafe erupts into chaos as hungry patrons scream for their orders, urging Takumi to hurry up. Moving with high-speed precision, Takumi serves the other customers their lunches, mimicking the sound of a train. Lyanna is so engrossed in the delicious meal that she unknowingly devours the pepino she usually hates, loving the crunchy texture. Takumi presents a special dessert of pomelo marinated in meal and yogurt, serving it gently to Lyanna's mother. The mother tastes the sour and smooth dish, and Takumi quietly asks if she has already realized her condition. She looks at him in surprise as he congratulates her, confirming that she is indeed pregnant. Takumi reveals he deduced it from her loose-fitting dress, avoidance of coffee, and signs of light anemia. He gently explains that Lyanna's earlier selfishness was likely an attempt to monopolize her mother's attention while she still could. Realizing her mother was unwell, Lyanna had been trying her hardest to act like an adult to protect her. Lyanna listens intently, understanding that her desire to keep her mama to herself stemmed from a fear of losing her. With a bright smile, Lyanna resolves to be a responsible big sister, embracing her new role with determination. She rushes to her mother's side, apologizing profusely for making her feel lonely during the journey. The cafe celebrates the touching moment, and Takumi proposes a toast with coffee to honor their bond. Caught up in the adult atmosphere, Lyanna grabs a cup of coffee and takes a bold, eager sip. She instantly recoils from the bitterness, sticking out her tongue as the reality of adulthood hits her taste buds. Roland muses on his preference for train travel over ships while snacking, establishing his divergence from his sailor family roots. A fellow traveler scolds Roland for wasting his meager allowance on food rumors instead of saving his money. Ignoring the warnings about closing times, Roland resolves to visit a shop in Harpertown rumored to serve incredible food. The first bite of the dish sends shockwaves through Roland, its flavor possessing the power to move his very heart. Roland is baffled by the golden arroz, a dish resembling paella that challenges his knowledge of local cuisine. Realizing this might be the stall his father mentioned, he approaches the station restaurant with heightened curiosity. The unknown dish assaults his senses with complex spices that tickle his nose and set his body on fire. Intense heat from the cayenne pepper stings his tongue, overwhelming him with its fiery sensation. Refusing water, he forces himself to endure the spice to discover the culinary secrets hidden beyond the pain. The flavor transports him to a vision of an exotic palace, convincing him that treasures lie behind the heat. Breaking the fried egg creates a golden waterfall of yolk that envelopes the rice and mellows the burning spiciness. He drifts into a state of culinary bliss, completely captivated by the harmony of flavors. Roland declares this restaurant to be the El Dorado he has been searching for, overwhelmed by emotion. Slamming his hands on the counter, he startles Nyachi and the master with a sudden, desperate request. Identify himself as Roland Arbalest from a fisherman family, he boasts of his experience with knives and fire handling. Bowing deeply, he begs to become an apprentice, sensing his destiny lies within this kitchen. The master gently declines the offer, claiming he is too inexperienced himself to take on a student. Undeterred by the rejection, Roland returns the very next day with renewed persistence to win the master over. He enters as a paying customer demanding coffee, causing the master visible trouble while Nyachi looks on. While praising the refined food to another customer, Roland continues to make his presence known in the cafe. In the kitchen, the master laments that he is only recreating old dishes, while Roland silently wishes for a chance to learn. Customers gossip about the master's mysterious background and his strange Nagoya dialect, noting how little they know about him. A slip of the tongue causes the master to use a weird phrase, prompting him to awkwardly try and cover it up with a salute. When pressed by Roland about the salute, the master frantically repeats, "right as rain," to deflect the suspicion. That night, Nyachi confronts the master about his strange behavior while he nurses a drink alone. Nyachi questions why he is drinking alcohol so late and playfully asks for a sip of her own. As she reaches for the glass, Nyachi asks bluntly why he won't take Roland in, but the master stops her from drinking. Nyachi argues that the crowded cafe needs more staff, but the master insists he isn't qualified to look after someone else. He confesses his fear of having more people to protect, though Nyachi reassures him she won't be jealous. The master worries that training an apprentice means exposing knowledge unknown to this world, risking his detachment from it. Roland tries to sneak out for his morning job but is intercepted by his imposing father, Pops. Pops confronts him about hiding something, and Roland finally admits he wants to be a cook rather than a fisherman. Roland explains that cooking for his family sparked a desire to let more people taste his creations. He identifies the Tsubame cafe as the place he needs to be, and Pops seemingly accepts this new path. Suddenly, Pops drags a chair away, leaving Roland confused and shouting for him to wait. The scene shifts to the cafe where Roland is already working hard amidst a rush, helping a dizzy Nyachi. The master realizes Roland told people from the port about the place, causing the sudden influx of customers. Even after cleaning windows, Roland immediately volunteers to take over serving duties from the exhausted Nyachi. A regular customer comments on the busyness, and the master acknowledges the tiring pace with a weary smile. The customer praises the new cleanliness of the shop, leading the master to finally admit that Roland is a helpful and good boy. Roland asks for a recommendation, and Takumi notes the young man's earnest nature as he observes him. Seeing a lull in customers, Takumi pours coffee and suggests they take a well-deserved break. The piece is shattered when a massive, rabbit-eared man kicks the door open and roars an apology for barging in. The intruder confronts Takumi, confirming he is the master of Tsubame who has been looking after Roland. Tears stream down the father's face as he laments that his precious son chooses cooking over the family tradition of fishing. Determined to win his son back, he challenges Takumi to a cooking duel with Roland's future at stake. He slams a crate of fresh langoustines onto the counter, a delicacy prized by fishermen for its exquisite taste. Roland tries to intervene, but his father demands a dish that will satisfy him using these specific ingredients. Takumi calmly accepts the challenge, reassuring a worried Roland that he is ready to face the test. Takumi decides to prepare a dish he hasn't made in ages, reaching for a special pot to begin. The kitchen comes alive as the langoustine is prepared, the ingredients hitting the oil with a violent splash. Takumi presents the finished creation, the special ebi fry donburi, steaming and golden before the challenger. The father stares at the extravagant bowl, gulping in anticipation as he lifts the spoon. As he eats, he reflects on his desire to support his son's dream, stunned by the perfect crunch and juiciness that overwhelms him. The flavor explodes in his mouth, combining the deliciousness of the ocean into a single, overwhelming experience that shouts of the sea. He zeroes in on the black sauce, realizing its spiciness perfectly elevates the ebi fry's flavor profile. He marvels at how the sauce's sourness is beautifully softened by the taste and fragrance of the vegetables. Overcome with emotion, he cries that the deliciousness shakes his very soul, embracing Roland in a tight hug. Takumi reveals the secret is koikuchi sauce, from his hometown, which forcefully pulls the father's inner feelings out. Nyachi digs in greedily, questioning the arrangement, while Takumi explains that placing the fry atop the rice enhances the flavor. The dish is a masterpiece of textures, with the sauce-soaked rice and cabbage creating a hidden sea of flavor. The father bursts into laughter, admitting he tried to use a difficult ingredient to prove his own worth but was soundly defeated. He formally declares his loss, staring at the empty bowl as Roland looks on with relief. Takumi praises Roland's skills, while Roland touches his father's shoulder, acknowledging him as a kind parent. Takumi asks Roland to promise he will always give his best and never give up, sealing the mentorship with a handshake. The station master arrives amidst the commotion, commenting on the liveliness and asking to book a specific seat. A mysterious, elegant woman sits in the luxury car under a chandelier, smiling as the train prepares to depart. The steam engine chugs rhythmically, carrying its passengers and their stories forward into the unknown. Roland and a local newspaper seller discuss the arrival of ice-cold Sophia, the heiress of the Mari-maid conglomerate who is rumored to be seeking a marriage partner. After paying for the paper, Roland receives a compliment from Fidel about his knowledge of current events. Excitement takes over Roland as he speculates that the famous heiress might be coming to Harpertown specifically for him since she booked a seat at their cafe. Nyachi dampens his mood by suggesting that, age-wise, she is likely interested in the master instead, just as a train whistle signals an arrival. On the train, Sophia enjoys a glass of alcohol, finding the rhythmic sound of the rails and the drink to be the perfect relaxation. She recalls a girl mentioning fate at the cafe in Harpertown and resolves to decide her own marriage partner, tired of her aunt's interference. Looking out at the sea, Sophia expresses her determination to see the town for herself and take control of her destiny. Back in the kitchen, the master and Roland finish a dish with worn-out hands, and Nyachi confirms the taste is perfect. The steam whistle blows loud and clear, signaling the staff to get ready to welcome their distinguished guest. Sophia steps off the train with an air of elegance, radiating a presence that commands attention. The master stammers a high-pitched welcome, completely flustered, while Nyachi greets the guest with her usual casual charm. Sophia introduces herself as Sophia Mari-maid with a beaming smile, instantly dispelling the ice-cold rumors. Internally, the master is floored by her warmth and beauty, comparing her elegance to the personification of a rose. As she walks, Sophia trips, prompting the master to rush forward and catch her before she hits the ground. She lands softly against him, creating an awkward intimacy that leaves the master flustered. Regaining her composure, she correctly identifies him as Takumi Kurigane, causing a shockwave of surprise for Nyachi. Sophia explains she heard of his dedication and gentlemanly nature from a certain girl, noting he looks good in glasses. She admits that she came because she was told she might feel her fate here, confusing the station master with her beauty. Roland and Nyachi whisper that she must be here for the master, but Nyachi suddenly looks stricken by the pairing. Seated at a table, Sophia playfully wonders what she will be served while a nearby customer wishes the cafe was in his city. Nyachi stumbles while carrying water, losing her balance and tipping dangerously toward the master. Dizzy and disoriented, Nyachi spins out of control while the master frantically asks if she is all right. She falls right into Sophia's lap, startled by the sudden contact and the nice smell. The master apologizes profusely, but Sophia brushes it off as Nyachi complains of feeling lightheaded and having a weird chest sensation. Concerned, the master touches Nyachi's forehead to check her temperature, eliciting a loud, shocked scream from her. Watching their interaction, Sophia reflects on a recent loveless marriage meeting and asks if she appears cold to them. She wonders aloud if her heart is truly frozen, prompting the master to step in with an observation. The master suggests she traveled all this way because she expects to find something here that can finally move her heart. Sophia stares at him in silence, her gaze intense enough to startle both Roland and Takumi. Takumi presents a triangular-cut cheesecake with cream sauce, which Sophia notes is unrefined and undecorated, much like herself. She observes the contrasting colors of the cake, seeing a reflection of her own cheerful yet guarded nature. Taking a bite, she is transported back to her childhood days of running in the fields, before she was burdened by her family name. The flavors of lemon and cheese melt in her mouth, and she detects a special milk breading that adds a unique richness. A memory surfaces of someone asking if she has ever kissed anyone, and she laments that her love life isn't as successful as others. She realizes that her efforts to be strong as the Mari-maid heiress made her afraid of falling in love, leaving her with no experience at all. As she continues to eat, the complex flavors make her feel like she is finally beginning to understand what love is. The taste is described as painful yet sweet, a sensation she wants to reach for again and again. Overwhelmed by the dish, she concludes that this feeling she is experiencing is indeed love. Looking at Takumi, Sophia smiles and admits she can clearly feel what has been lacking in her life. Despite the cake's thickness, it feels light in her mouth, and Sophia finds she cannot stop eating it. Takumi explains that he served the coffee unsweetened to create a light aftertaste that perfectly balances the heavy richness of the cake. Sophia blushes deeply, misinterpreting his talk of compatibility and harmony as a romantic declaration that has taught her the meaning of love. Leaning in with sparkling eyes, she boldly asks Takumi to be her partner, causing Nyachi to gasp in shock at the sudden confession. The mood shifts instantly as Sophia reveals she wants to mass-produce his cake to sell 10,000 pieces daily, causing Takumi to panic and refuse. Takumi explains that mass production is impossible because the cake uses homemade cottage cheese, which spoils quickly without a refrigerator. He adds that the local soya and maize flours have flavors too strong for the delicate cake, noting the world's lack of wheat. Although he tried using arroz this time, he laments that grinding the hard rice grains by hand took an exhausting amount of effort. Sophia's eyes light up with a brilliant idea, suggesting they use a steam-powered machine to grind the rice and revolutionize cooking. She offers to use her connections to procure the machine, demanding a rough production estimate to get the plan moving. Suddenly, a flamboyant man in a top hat spins into the room, making a grand and eccentric entrance. He strikes a pose and introduces himself as Sava Silver, the Silver Demon King of the Merchant Association, ready to show his skills. Savas and Sophia begin a jubilant dance of commerce, plotting the business venture while Nyachi watches in utter confusion. Takumi tries to intervene in the chaotic celebration, but Nyachi screams for everyone to stop, desperate to be heard. Clutching her chest in pain, Nyachi tearfully interrupts, asking if this partnership means there is love involved. Unable to hold it back, she screams out the question of whether Takumi and Sophia are now husband and wife. Takumi frantically clarifies it's a business partnership, leaving Nyachi slumping in embarrassment while he apologizes for the confusion. The sound of a steam whistle cuts through the air as the train crosses a bridge, signaling the end of Sophia's vacation. Sophia attempts to recruit Nyachi as her maid, captivated by the cuteness of the diligent cat girl, but gets a firm refusal. Back on the train, Sophia smiles mischievously as she wonders about the souvenir Takumi handed her before departure. Opening the box, she discovers salty popcorn, a crunchy and addicting snack that perfectly suits her tastes. Despite her reputation as the strict, ice-cold Sophia of the banking world, she reveals her true energetic nature while enjoying the treat. Flashbacks reveal Sophia's desperate attempts to drag Nyachi home, wailing and pleading with the cat girl. When Sophia tried to use a bribe, Takumi stepped in with a counter-offering to save his staff member. He presented the famous Nagoya specialty coffee ticket, A coupon book offering 11 cups for the price of 10. Sophia accepts the deal with a satisfied laugh, reading the custom Nyachi lap carry coupon and deciding to give up for the day. The station's telegraph machine chatters into life, its mechanical arm tapping out a rhythmic message that breaks the silence of the room. Roland studies the ticker tape with a calm smile and assures a worried Nalachi that the incoming transmission reports no accidents or emergencies. Seeking comfort, Nalachi asks if she can call for Roland-kun while he gently pats her head to soothe her anxiety. Roland explains how the telegraph uses electricity to move the needle for sending and receiving simple messages, leaving Nalachi completely mesmerized by the technology. Amused by her reaction, Roland muses that a smartphone would make her faint, while Nalachi marvels at the moving parts of the machine. The machine clacks out an urgent warning that a gem scammer who caused an accident in Rosa's city has boarded the first train on the Hapt line. Roland deduces they must intercept the suspect described as having wolf ears, but he sternly reminds Nalachi that their first priority remains the safety of their customers. The staff members acknowledge the order with fierce determination, ready to protect the station and catch the criminal. The narrative shifts to the fifth train, introducing the hamburger set for the gem scammer, as a diamond sparkles in a hand against the backdrop of a steam engine. Inside the train, the shadowy wolf-eared scammer gloats about his escape to Harpertown, confident that fleeing abroad will keep him out of reach. He laughs maniacally while recalling how easily he fooled the Mari-maid family and a jewelry shop owner with a single fake letter to secure his loot. Upon arriving at the station, the scammer prepares to hunt for new prey but is suddenly distracted by a delicious aroma wafting from the station building. A heavy impact sound reverberates through the entrance as the doors swing open with force. Inside the kitchen, the staff debates the merits of mixing ketchup and mayonnaise to create Aurora sauce, arguing over the correct ingredients for the upcoming meal service. The wolf-eared man makes a flashy entrance, his gold chains clinking as he bumps into another traveler and feigns surprise. The staff freezes in shock as they spot the wolf ears, watching the scammer intrude upon a nervous-looking sheep gentleman. Recognizing him as the target, the staff watches tensely while the wolf smooths over the collision with a charming, deceptive apology to the sheep. The scammer points out that the impact spilled the contents of the sheep suitcase, revealing a stash of expensive watches inside. Feigning guilt, the wolf insists on making amends by treating the sheep to a meal, using the accident as a pretext to entrap his victim. Just as the wolf corners the sheep, Roland intervenes with a professional smile, offering them a light lunch to keep them occupied. The wolf eagerly accepts and orders 2 sets, laughing loudly while the sheep looks on in visible distress. While waiting, the wolf confirms the cafe is part of the station and oddly requests extra punch in his food, which Roland notes with suspicion. In the back, the staff whispers about the sheep carrying valuables and realizes they must protect the potential victim from the wolf's schemes. The bunny-eared assistant shakes with rage, calling the wolf pure evil for targeting such a kind-looking sheep, but Roland urges him to remain calm. Roland checks the clock and notes the police will arrive on the next train at 2, meaning they must stall the scammer until law enforcement takes over. Taking command, Roland orders Nalachi to the telegraph room for updates while he and the others work to ensure customer safety and buy time. At the table, the wolf probes the sheep about the value of his watch, spinning a lie about having bought a similar one to build false rapport. The sheep reacts with visible annoyance and anxiety, clutching his pocket watch while the wolf secretly grows frustrated by the victim's resistance. The wolf internally rages that his escape plan is being ruined by this difficult target, cursing the situation as it spirals out of control. Realizing his previous scam caused a massive uproar, the wolf checks his pocket watch and worries he might have overdone it, needing to hide before he is caught. Caught between the risk of causing a scene and his pride as a scammer, the wolf wavers on whether to fleece the rich fool or flee immediately. He almost decides to run, but the sight and smell of the delicious food arriving at the table overpower his survival instinct, compelling him to stay. Roland arrives with perfect timing, presenting the Blessing of Earth hamburger set as a service lunch to keep the suspect anchored. Roland serves the steaming potato wedges, advising the customers to eat them with their bare hands despite the heat. The wolf picks up a wedge, entranced by the sound and smell, but notices Roland watching him closely and begins to suspect his cover is blown. Overcome by the heat of the potato, the wolf burns his mouth but urges the sheep to start eating as well to maintain the social pretense. The sheep blows on the steaming hot potato, his cheeks flushing as he prepares to take a bite of the rustic dish. The wolf is struck by the texture, finding the soft, piping hot potato incredibly addicting as a vague memory begins to surface. He realizes the raw countryside flavor reminds him of the rush he felt when he successfully scammed an old man, filling him with a twisted sense of pleasure. Faced with 2 dipping options, the wolf eyes the unfamiliar white sauce with suspicion and decides to stick to the salsa he knows, prioritizing safety even while eating. The sheep is shocked to discover the dipping sauce is sweet rather than the expected salsa, leaving him feeling unexpectedly tricked by the flavor. Furious at his own gullibility, the scammer laments that a genius like himself could be fooled so easily, only to be captivated by the exquisite combination of tomato paste sweetness and sourness on the potato. Suddenly remembering the wolf-eared man beside him, the sheep struggles to compose himself, realizing this is no time to be eating when danger is so close. Attempting a quick escape, the sheep asks for bags to take the food home, but he mistakenly believes the waiter is only suspicious of the wolf sitting next to him. Just as the sheep attempts to excuse himself, the wolf enthusiastically suggests squeezing the burger and eating it with bare hands, finding the food too interesting to ignore. The wolf squeezes the bun until savory meat juice flows out, baffling the sheep who wonders if the man realizes he is currently a suspect. Overcome by the tantalizing aroma, the sheep abandons his plan to leave and takes a massive bite, crying out in shock at the overwhelming flavor. A storm of flavors assaults the sheep's senses as he wonders how the meat juice alone could perfectly unite the bread and vegetables into such a masterpiece. Identifying the white sauce as the secret ingredient responsible for the superb taste, the sheep internally praises the bastard chef for creating such culinary perfection. The burger slides smoothly into his mouth as the white sauce subtly binds the crispy lettuce and crunchy fried chicken into a harmonious delight. Claiming the deliciousness is turning him into a gluttonous pig, the sheep licks his fingers and refuses to let even a single drop of the white sauce escape. Ecstatic, the sheep declares this so-called hamburger to be the absolute pinnacle of gourmet food lust. Realizing he finished the entire meal instead of running away, the sheep panics but admits the satisfaction rivals the thrill of a successful scam. The wolf reveals that the Aurora sauce, a mix of mayonnaise and ketchup, is responsible for the delicious flavor that entranced them both. Spotting that the wolf still has dipping sauce while his own plate is empty, the sheep stares enviously at the remaining condiments. As the wolf excitedly mixes the 2 sauces to create a new color, the sheep plots to stealthily steal a taste, hoping his theft will go unnoticed. Unable to resist, the sheep brazenly dips his food into the wolf's mixture to sample the new flavor combination. The sheep screams in agony as the sauce proves to be incredibly spicy, prompting the concerned wolf to frantically offer him a glass of water. Desperate for relief, the sheep snatches the glass and gulps down the water to extinguish the fire in his mouth. The water washes off his disguise, causing a stolen gem to fall from his hair and shocking the onlooker. Nyamuchi shouts, "Master," as the sheep's true appearance is revealed, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. The wolf seizes the sheep, revealing him as the true gem scammer, while Roland realizes the culprit had been disguised as a sheep all along. Desperate to escape, the scammer finds his path blocked by the cafe staff and decides to dash toward the rails, shocking the bunny boy with his speed. Ignoring the danger, the scammer leaps off the platform and onto the train tracks to evade capture. In a flash of motion, the wolf dives after the fleeing criminal and tackles him directly onto the railway sleepers. Holding the suspect down, the wolf declares Marcos Bernard under arrest for the suspicion of gem scamming. Saluting the staff, the wolf reveals his true identity as Rodrigo, a railroad police officer who had been trying to bait the suspect with subtle traps. Rodrigo explains that he spiked the mayonnaise with horseradish and the ketchup with extra hot salsa to force a reaction, much to Roland's surprise. The officer reveals he had to catch the criminal inside the station to maintain jurisdiction, gambling that the suspect didn't know about the telegraph system. Despite the successful arrest, Rodrigo offers a sheepish smile as he prepares to make a small request. With tears streaming down his face from the heat, Rodrigo admits the sauce was too spicy even for him and begs for a milder version next time. Young Roland stares in awe at a massive piece of meat at the World Expo, telling his mother he will never forget this moment. In the present, the Tsubame team gears up for the World Expo, and Nilachi is surprised to find Roland arriving early to help. Roland looks over the renovation team, noting that everyone is lying on the ground looking completely dead tired. The exhausted workers lament that they have no energy left after traveling from Mark City in the heat, longing for the ocean. One man ignores the exhaustion and continues running laps with boundless energy, shocking the others. The high-spirited chief of the K-Van team slides into the conversation, asking Roland for permission to use the station's kitchen. He explains that he wants to cook dinner to restore the spirits of his tired crew members. Determined to make the last station a success, the chief intensely requests extra meat for the meal. The dinner is served with a clatter of plates, revealing a mountain of grilled tebasaki wings glistening in the light. Roland instructs the renovation team on how to eat the wings by breaking the bone and sucking the meat clean off. Nyachi gets competitive and challenges a worker to a duel to see who can finish the plate first. A worker confronts Roland, deducing he is not from this world because only someone from elsewhere would know that eating style. She slams the table and accuses him of being a reincarnated evil mage who baited them with tasty food and salad. Roland points out that the girls haven't touched the vegetables at all, questioning if they hate them. The chief intervenes by lifting Nyachi up and declaring that they should simply ignore vegetables and eat meat. He piles more meat onto the table for Lucy and the others, laughing that everyone's appetite is back. The chief shouts that eating meat blows away tiredness and ensures health, solidifying their meat alliance. By the end of the meal, the group has devoured every scrap of meat while leaving the vegetable dishes completely full. While washing dishes outside, Roland mentions to his apprentice that Nyachi seemed to really love the food. When asked about his feelings for Nyachi, Roland panics and insists it is a misunderstanding and he doesn't see her that way. Lucy overhears the frantic denial from the window and grins, sensing something interesting is afoot. She rushes back to the girls to report that a muddy love triangle might be developing in their peaceful station. The girls gossip about Nyachi's crush, debating whether it's okay for her to be interested in the master. Lucy darkens the mood by warning that nice people like Roland can become violent and lash out when they hold things inside. The group becomes paranoid, wondering if the delicious food and hospitality are too good to be true. The chief suddenly appears, terrified that the station staff plans to fatten them up until they can't move. He excuses himself to the toilet but shouts that the girls are thinking crazy thoughts because they need more meat. The chief stomps down the hallway with heavy steps, putting distance between himself and the girls. Peeking over a wall, the chief spots Roland lurking in the shadows and wonders if he is looking for a fight. He watches in horror as Roland speaks to a shadowy figure, praising something as sharp and really good. The chief turns pale, convinced that Roland is casually conversing with a monster in the dark. Overcome with fear, he loses his footing and tumbles down from his vantage point. The next morning, the chief returns looking like a zombie, unable to focus on work after his sleepless night. Nyachi beckons the chief over to a secluded corner, offering him a secret drink and telling him not to tell anyone. The girls watch suspiciously from a distance, wondering why the chief reacted so strangely when they mentioned her earlier. They conclude that Nyachi is a frightening devil girl who is up to no good. The chief drinks the lemon-flavored iced water and is shocked by how refreshing and cooling it is. He asks how she got ice in the summer, and when she feigns ignorance, he realizes something is fundamentally wrong with the station. A chilling voice echoes nearby, threatening to grind someone into paste. The chief peeks through a window and sees the apprentice with a demonic face, grinding ingredients while promising to grind them all. Kavan turns away in shame, hiding his face as blood splatters onto the floor, and he warns someone not to look. A worker discovers Kavan trapped under heavy rubble, bleeding and unable to move the timber pinning him down. Roland rushes to the scene and asks the dazed Kavan if he is okay, alarmed by the pool of red liquid. Kavan wakes up in a bed, confused as Roland asks if he remembers fainting from the incident. Kavan sheepishly reveals the blood was actually tomato juice from a cooking accident involving onions that made him cry. Roland questions Kavan's obsession with meat after learning he fainted from anemia and working in the heat. In a flashback, Kavan tells his friend Romeo that meat represents his feelings as they vow to be the best constructors. Tragedy strikes during an accident when Kavan fails to lift a heavy log off Romeo due to a lack of muscle strength. Romeo urges Kavan to chase their dream alone, leaving Kavan to regret not eating enough meat to save him. Back in the present, Kavan admits he pushes his workers to eat meat to ensure they never face the same regret. The girls peek through the window, speculating if Kavan is the partner Roland spent the night with. The girls burst into the room with wild accusations, interrupting Roland and Kavan's conversation about dinner. Roland presents the fiery stamina pork curry, a dish specially made to restore the construction team's energy. The thick soup's aroma alone is enough to rouse Kavan's vigor as he sniffs the bowl greedily. Kavan takes a bite and is immediately overwhelmed by the intense spiciness of the curry. Sweat pouring down his face, Kavan realizes the heat is exactly what he was lacking and can't stop eating. Roland reveals the curry contains a paste of ground ginger, garlic, onion, and tomatoes to boost nutrition. Keivan recoils at the mention of vegetables, but Roland insists they are necessary to balance his meat-heavy diet. The vegetable-infused curry glistens as Keivan prepares to devour another spoonful despite his hesitation. Keivan slurps the thick soup down with the speed and intensity of drinking water, ignoring the heat. The violent spiciness strengthens his heartbeat as he feels the vegetable juice flowing straight into his veins. Keivan realizes his muscles are like a steam locomotive that cannot run smoothly without oil. He concludes that vegetables serve as the blood or oil, while meat serves as the muscle or engine. With his stamina fully recovered, Keivan roars in satisfaction, his face flushed and energized. The bunny boy scolds Keivan for worrying the master and Nyamuchi by neglecting his vegetables. The construction project is completed successfully 2 days ahead of the deadline thanks to the team's recovery. As the train departs, Keivan loudly lectures the girls on the importance of eating vegetables for their health. The construction team watches the train disappear into the distance, satisfied that their job is finally done. The girls celebrate the completion of their mission with smiles, holding apples and tomatoes. In a blazing hot forge, a yeti-like blacksmith named Gong hammers away at his anvil. Strange, chilling sounds and rattles emanate from the base of a wooden counter, signaling something mechanical lurking within. The rattling intensifies alongside guttural groans, suggesting a struggle or a heavy mechanism grinding away inside the confined space. Takumi throws open the front panel of the 7th train stand, revealing that the source of the noise is actually a man inside the counter itself. Takumi berates the bearded Gustav for hiding inside the cramped workspace to escape the heat while half their ice inventory melts away. Gustav emerges with a grin, boasting that he has finished polishing the final part of his engineering guild masterpiece while enjoying the cold mist. Takumi warns that she will be arriving soon, causing Gustav's lazy demeanor to instantly shift into focused intensity as he tinkers. A creepy smile spreads across Gustav's face as he anticipates the arrival of their guest, his obsessive engineering instincts taking over. Spinning a modified shaver set with manic energy, Gustav sprays shaved ice everywhere, forcing Takumi to recoil from the sudden splatter. Gustav proudly explains his invention uses gas and steam engine mechanics to act as a refrigerator, earning genuine praise from Takumi for his skill. Takumi lets out a mischievous laugh, realizing the potential of their creation to revolutionize their work. The duo fantasizes about all the cooking tools they can create, their excitement bubbling over at the endless possibilities. Their mood shifts as they recall Sophia's harsh critique that a simple icebox lacks the flashiness needed to impress the World Expo. Flashbacks show Sophia demanding a spectacle that makes people go, whoa, leaving Gustav frustrated that she doesn't appreciate the subtle greatness of a fridge. Determined to prove her wrong, Takumi and Gustav resolve to use their hard work as an ultimate weapon for revenge. Roland and a catgirl watch in confusion as the pair declares war on ice-cold Sophia with burning enthusiasm. Roland swoons over the thought of Sophia, calling her a fairy who stole his heart, completely oblivious to the tension. A steam train arrives at the station, the heat radiating from it as passengers swelter inside the metal carriages. Inside the carriage, Sophia radiates a terrifying demon face, Aurora, furious at the oppressive heat and the discomfort. Sophia vents her frustration about investors and questions the utility of ice, her temper rising in sync with the temperature. She stands up abruptly, terrifying her companion Natal, and dark thoughts of freezing the investors as ornaments cross her mind. Sophia turns her glare on Natal, questioning why a mere apprentice is sitting in first class with her, causing the girl to tremble. Natal apologizes profusely, admitting she is just a burden, but Sophia's intimidation only makes her panic more. Sophia smiles enigmatically, telling Natal not to be silly, though her intense expression only deepens the girl's anxiety. Grabbing Natal's face, Sophia declares that the girl is just like ice, leaving the apprentice confused and terrified by the comparison. The pair arrives at the shop only to find a temporarily closed sign and a note directing them to a location called Tsugane. Sophia and Natal stare in shock and disbelief at the empty shop, wondering what kind of game is being played. Takumi steps out dressed as a coachman, and Sophia recognizes him as the ticket puncher from the station earlier. The shop shutters fly open to reveal Gustav, Roland, and the crew dressed in formal attire, welcoming the ladies with a flourish. They unveil a magnificent horse-drawn carriage, promising a grand experience prepared specifically for today. Donning sunglasses, Takumi announces that they will ensure the ladies enjoy their day to the fullest in exchange for the ice. Takumi cracks his whip with a sharp swish, demanding to know where they are going, while Sophia looks intrigued by the challenge. The girls are blindfolded as Sophia accepts the game, deducing that the real surprise awaits them after the ride. The carriage launches forward at breakneck speed, drifting around corners and eliciting screams of terror from the passengers. Chaos reigns inside the carriage as Natal wails and the catgirl Nyachi rubs against everyone in the darkness. Amidst the panic, Nyachi begins undressing and urges the others to do the same, confusing the terrified humans. The blindfolds come off to reveal a steamy tub, and the girls shiver as they enter what looks like a hot bath. Sophia stretches out, feeling her fatigue melt away in the mist, but panics when she realizes they are completely naked. Nyachi happily declares that a bath is meant to be enjoyed naked, unfazed by the lack of swimsuits. The catgirl splashes around joyfully, exclaiming that she has come prepared for this, while Sophia tries to process the sensation. Sophia realizes with shock that they aren't in water but snow, and as the cold powder melts on her skin, she admits it feels incredible. Sophia stares at the melting snow in her hand, baffled by its existence in the middle of the warm season. Nyamuchi leads the thirsty group toward a large set of doors, noting how quaint hot springs feel in summer. The doors open to reveal a surprising sight that makes the girls gasp in unison. A massive machine whirs to life as Roland explains that Takumi and Gustav built this ultimate weapon to shave ice. The machine grinds furiously to produce a mountain of snow, presented dramatically by the cafe staff. Sophia offers a knowing smile, intrigued by the spectacle unfolding before her. Roland presents a bowl of shaved ice to Sophia, inviting her to enjoy the taste of his creation. When Sophia asks about the topping, Roland reveals a simple snow flower with fresh syrup, believing simplicity is best. He urges the guests to consume the ice directly before it melts, much to their surprise. Sophia takes a bite and feels the cold sensation immediately douse her heated body, realizing the hot spring was a setup for this moment. The girls delight in the chill, soaking up the refreshing contrast to their warmed bodies. Suddenly, the entire group clutches their heads in agony as a collective brain freeze strikes them. Recovering quickly, Sophia declares that this memorable impact will ensure the World Expo's success. However, the clink of her spoon against the glass signals that she is not yet fully satisfied. Sophia's demeanor shifts to icy ruthlessness as she demands something more to silence the critics who doubted them. Natal aggressively shovels ice into her mouth despite the pain, determined to understand Sophia's high standards. Roland comforts the tearful Natal, acknowledging her strong belief in the potential of the ice. Opening a wooden door, Roland reveals the true power behind the ice is actually the refrigerator. He slams down a tray of large clams freshly caught from the sea near Harpertown. Sophia scoffs at the common ingredients, calling Roland ignorant, but he simply smiles at her lack of knowledge. He explains that the clams are still alive before slicing one in half with a squelching sound. The living clam sizzles on the grill, dancing in the heat as it cooks in its own juices. Roland squeezes fresh citrus over the steaming shellfish and presents the dripping delicacy to the table. Sophia slurps down the hot clam, savoring the juices that slide down her throat. The intense scent of the ocean hits her senses, revealing a flavor completely different from any clam she has known. Roland explains that the refrigerator preserved their freshness despite the summer heat, shocking Sophia, who has only ever eaten boiled ones. For the next course, Roland pours a sweet alcoholic drink kept cold in the fridge over the shaved ice, warning that it is dangerous. Sophia alternates between the savory heat of the chewy clam meat and the fizzy chill of the ice-cold wine. Caught in an endless loop of hot and cold sensations, Sophia finds herself unable to stop eating and drinking. Blushing furiously, she admits that the fresh clams and cold alcohol owe their perfection to the refrigerator. Overwhelmed by the experience, she whispers that refrigerators are truly wonderful inventions. Sophia turns to Natal and commands her to prepare this dish at the World Expo to knock out the opposition. Natal freezes in shock at the sudden responsibility thrust upon her. She panics and tries to refuse, terrified that an apprentice like her cannot handle such an important job without Takumi. Sophia gently holds Natal's face, reassuring her that she is the chosen one and is just like ice. The group watches in amusement as Sophia passes out drunk on the couch, having consumed every cup before anyone else could take a sip. The massive 8th train steamboat arrives at the harbor with a command to lower the anchor, signaling the arrival of a new wave of visitors. Crowds swarm the newly opened World Expo, prompting urgent calls to prepare an extra locomotive to handle the massive influx of passengers. A station attendant apologizes to the congested crowd, informing them that the extra train is already full and they must wait for the next one. The influx brings visitors with horns and ears never seen before, highlighting the diversity of the species arriving at the Tsubame cafe. Roland looks overwhelmed as he observes that Tsubame is turning into another world due to the sheer variety of customers filling the hall. Chaos ensues as a snake charmer's red snake terrifies Roland, causing him to scream while a customer calmly smokes a pipe. Nyachi trembles violently while serving coffee, terrified by the dangerous atmosphere, though she tries to maintain her composure when Roland points out her shaking legs. Two regular customers spot the newcomers and worry that the massive crowd threatens their chances of securing lunch. Determined not to let the crowd discover the existence of the lunch menu, the men decide to take action before it sells out. The duo begins playing a violin and cello, proclaiming that music transcends cultural barriers to distract the crowd since they don't know foreign languages. Roland snaps at them for bothering the customers with their loud performance of Love is a high-pressure steam, effectively silencing the disruption. The musicians sheepishly apologize for trying to get lunch again, noting that Roland is acting more and more like the master these days. A swarm of customers surrounds Roland demanding lunch, leaving him overwhelmed and crying out for someone to save some for him too. Takumi arrives and Roland assures him it was no trouble, revealing he had prepared all the lunches beforehand to spare his master the work. Roland passionately declares that he put extra effort into the staff lunch and wants Takumi to taste the fruits of his training. With full confidence, Roland presents a bowl of ripe tomato soup, eager for Takumi's assessment. Takumi hesitates with a troubled expression, admitting that tomato soup reminds him of a bad memory, which instantly devastates Roland. A flashback reveals Takumi's childhood trauma with school lunches in Nagoya, where unfinished food led to punishment, making tomato soup a difficult dish for him. Despite his hesitation, Takumi notes that the soup smells incredibly nice, signaling a potential shift in his perception. Upon tasting it, Takumi finds the flavoring just right and the potatoes perfectly cooked, exclaiming that it is great. Roland celebrates wildly after receiving praise, while Takumi thinks he might be able to leave the hall to his apprentice at this rate. Nyachi watches in confusion, knowing her master hates tomato soup, while Takumi reflects that the soup is actually something special despite his trauma. The catgirl stares blankly, unable to comprehend why Takumi is enjoying the dish he usually despises. Takumi realizes he hasn't told Nyachi anything about the context behind this moment, causing him a moment of panic. An internal monologue reveals Takumi feels insecure from time to time about where you might have gone. Nyachi drools as she watches Takumi eat, her hunger overriding her confusion about the menu. Nyachi tries to restrain herself, but Takumi offers her a taste, mentioning they will have a feast later to celebrate the World Expo. The scene parallels Nyachi's excitement with a memory of you, as both express they can't wait to taste Takumi's cooking. Takumi smiles wistfully as he listens to the lively atmosphere, his thoughts drifting to the past. While preparing a corn and chicken soup, Takumi wonders if he keeps remembering these things specifically because of the date. He wonders if you will forgive him for remembering her even for a bit, while Nyachi eagerly awaits the feast in the background. A flashback transports the narrative to a spring Hanami viewing, where Takumi and you first met while sitting in different groups. They laugh simultaneously and apologize, sparking a connection across their picnic sheets. You comments that his bento looks delicious, and Takumi offers her a taste if she is okay with it. You laughs after Takumi uses a dialect word, teasing him that he sounds like an old lady. They decide to share food and bond over their shared Nagoya dialect, with Takumi noting she is cute like a cat. Back in the present, Takumi eats the tomato soup and declares it delicious, despite his earlier mention of trauma. In the past, Takumi offers to exchange his corn potage for her tomato soup, accidentally revealing his trauma and causing you to call him a weird guy. Takumi chops almonds to coat the chicken, wondering why his own cooking always tastes so gentle. In the memory, you eats his food and accidentally blurts out that she wants to eat his cooking for the rest of her life, leaving both of them stunned. Uda accidentally asks Mino out during a flustered moment, and to his utter shock, she accepts his confession without hesitation. The scene shifts to a quiet train ride where their hands gently touch, solidifying the new bond between them. You looks at Nyachi and realizes that while she is still the same person, there are lost words and memories he can no longer voice. Watching her eat with delight, you notes with a pang of sadness that her memories have vanished even though her sharp taste remains. Motivated by his deep feelings, you recreates a specific dish for her, flinching in pain as hot oil splatters onto his hand. As the food sizzles in the fryer, he wistfully wonders if recreating these flavors for her now counts as a form of cheating. The narrative presents the title card for the August banquet, setting the stage for the celebration to come. Yu apologizes for the simple meal, but Nyachi is ecstatic, declaring the spread to be an absolute feast. She is dazzled by the luxury of the dinner, pointing out the wine, candles, and white tablecloth with sparkling eyes. They toast with wine, but Nyachi immediately burns her tongue on the piping hot food and cries out in distress. Yu laughs and offers her the corn potage, watching her happily enjoy the crunchy and juicy texture of the meal. Nyachi savors the soup with a satisfied sigh, remarking on how gentle and delicious the flavor tastes. Suddenly stopping mid-meal, Nyachi senses something specific about the atmosphere and begins to question the occasion. She excitedly realizes that this is a birthday feast and proudly announces that she has figured it out. Confusion immediately follows as she holds her head in frustration, unable to recall exactly whose birthday it is. Pushing the doubt aside, she cheers happily for the event, exclaiming that she always looks forward to this special day each year. Yu covers his face to hide his emotions while Nyachi worries he is sick, leading him to gently call out her name. Kneeling down to her eye level, Yu warmly reveals that the celebration is for her and wishes her a happy birthday. Nyachi blushes as she processes the news, feeling the intense reality of Yu's presence and affection. Overwhelmed with shyness, she trembles visibly while Yu watches her with a kind and confirming smile. The view blurs into the ceiling, marking a quiet and intimate transition in the atmosphere of the room. Nyachi shyly asks her master to close his eyes, stepping closer with a bold new purpose. Her face turns bright red as she purses her lips, leaning in with determination to bridge the gap between them. She rises up on her tiptoes, stretching upward to reach him and deliver her heartfelt gratitude. A girl with animal ears leans intimately close to a boy, stepping up onto the bench to bridge the height gap. She sinks her teeth into his cheek in a sudden, playful bite. Pulling back with a confused expression, she tilts her head while the boy stares in bewilderment. The boy cries out in pain as she lingers close, her grip on him unyielding. She licks her lips, savoring the taste while the flustered boy questions her sanity. When he stammers and asks if she was trying to kiss him, her face erupts into a massive blush. She flees the scene in a panic, leaving the boy to touch his cheek in confusion. At the bustling World Expo, attendees marvel at exotic snacks like grilled panda dragon skewers. A mustachioed gentleman muses on how happy Takumidano would be to witness the festivities. The vast interior of the Expo hall buzzes with the energy of countless visitors enjoying the merry atmosphere. Spectators gaze in awe at intricate displays of pottery and modern marvels. The gentleman bites into his food, absorbed by the rapid development of technology and culture around him. A mechanical winged device flutters past, startling the man with its sudden movement. A steam train chugs across a scenic bridge, symbolizing the era's industrial progress. Back at the cafe, a waitress shows off commemorative eared headbands from the gold company to her envious coworkers. Roland the fox boy insists loudly that he isn't jealous of those attending the expo, though his irritation is palpable. Lounging on a table with sunglasses, Roland brags about making money selling newspapers while his coworker mocks him. The coworker teases him for being a jealous, chibi fox, causing Roland to tremble with suppressed rage. Roland snaps back, declaring himself the great warmer, entrusted to manage Café Tsubame in his master's absence. The cafe doorbell chimes, signaling the arrival of a new customer. A silent, imposing regular enters and heads to his usual corner seat, annoying Roland who considers him a hindrance. Roland is stunned into silence when the usually mute man actually speaks and orders an omelette. Recalls sparks in Roland's mind of the moment his master entrusted him with creating a takeout dish, fueling his confidence. He serves a dish to the customer, declaring he will borrow the frying pan to prepare it. The man leaves a bag on the counter and thanks Roland before exiting. Roland scratches his head, admitting to himself that he got carried away trying to imitate his master. Trembling violently, he clutches the bag, realizing the significance of the bread and the man's identity. His coworker stammers in terror, identifying the customer as Salvador, the strict baker who supplies Tsubame. He explains that Salvador is a perfectionist who only sells to those he respects and even trained him in using tools. Roland realizes that offending Shursho's own master puts the entire future of the cafe spread supply in danger. Panic sets in as the duo decides they must chase after Salvador immediately to apologize. They bow deeply in front of Salvador's bakery, desperate to make amends. Roland confesses that he served a ready-made dish because he was busy and takes full responsibility for his negligence. Salvador reveals the bread was a test of new flour and remarks that while the menu was dull, the ingredients were acceptable. His expression darkens into a glare as he pronounces Roland's work inadequate, making the boy flinch. Roland prostrates himself on the floor, shouting his deepest apologies to the unforgiving baker. He begs Salvador to give him just 1 week to prove his worth while his coworker looks on in worry. Salvador accepts the challenge but warns that failure will mean Roland is banned from Tsubame forever. Determined to succeed, Roland begins a grueling training regimen, running on the beach to build his stamina. Focusing on rhythm and heat, Roland practices flipping omelets, letting the egg dance boldly across the pan. Roland serves a shimmering dish to Fidel with a warm smile, affirming his unwavering belief in the young rabbit's potential. Realizing his master's greatness, Fidel pushes his body to the breaking point while running on the beach to sharpen his resolve. He practices flipping wet clothes to master the pan motion but collapses in despair, fearing he isn't cut out for Tsubame. An older rabbit observes Fidel's grueling post-work training from a rocky perch, noting the boy's dedication. Describing the ideal texture as a gentle, full-moon futon, the mentor offers to help the hopeless big rabbit train his senses. Fidel throws the cloth with renewed vigor, shouting that mastering the sensation is his ultimate goal. Roland checks on the kitchen late at night, surprised to find the exhausted Nyachi still awake and working. He internalizes the crushing pressure of the upcoming World Expo and Salvador's visit, knowing his work at the station is vital. Fidel nervously greets the stern critic Salvador at the door, his heart pounding as the man orders a simple omelette. The weight of responsibility bears down on Fidel as he prepares to cook a single, normal, delicious plate for the demanding guest. Nerves get the better of him as he flips the omelette clumsily, lamenting that the texture is too hard and the moon futon ideal is lost. Terrified that his failure will cause the restaurant to close, Fidel freezes, unable to bring himself to serve the inadequate dish. He suddenly recalls the Spanish omelette his master gave him and realizes he only needs to warm up the pre-made creation. Gazing at the glistening food, Fidel feels the heavy burden of responsibility contained within a single dish. He questions the core of service and decides that even if it's pathetic to rely on it, the deliciousness of the food matters most. A memory surfaces of his mentor scolding him for wasting a bad-looking omelette, urging him to use it for a taste test instead. Fidel snaps back to reality with a look of realization, understanding how to salvage the situation. With a shout of determination, he serves the roll cabbage and omelette lunch set to the waiting customer. Salvador opens his mouth wide and bites into the sandwich, his eyes popping open in immediate shock. Fidel prays desperately to the gods, fearing he has made a fatal mistake as the critic chews in silence. A flashback shows the mentor sharing a beachside meal, stuffing the omelette between bread for easy carrying. Back in the present, Fidel nervously watches Salvador, recalling the confidence he felt when tasting that simple combination. The critic is captivated by the perfect harmony of the ketchup, omelette, and the fluffy rice flour bread. Salvador bursts into laughter, delighting in the sensation of the soft futon bread hugging the savory filling. Fidel is stunned by the reaction as Salvador praises the bread's deliciousness just as Roland arrives to witness the success. The critic expresses his desire to keep using their bread, and a beaming Fidel agrees with utter relief. Passengers at Jimby Station panic at the sight of people with red-stained mouths, fearing a disastrous outbreak. The blood is revealed to be sauce from the sandwiches, clearing the misunderstanding about the dangerous powder scandal. A vendor enthusiastically hawks the commemorative omelette sandwiches to travelers heading to the World Expo. The steam train arrives at the station, carrying passengers under the chapter title, A Swordswoman Guided by the Sausage. A horned girl finds herself outmatched in battle, realizing her blade cannot compete as a gun barrel is leveled directly at her. Desperate to protect her master, she grits her teeth and faces the threat despite knowing the disadvantage of her sword. The attackers are swiftly neutralized by unseen forces, leaving the swordswoman stunned that she survived the encounter. The scene shifts to the peaceful exterior of Café Tsubame, where the day's business is about to unfold. A close-up reveals a sausage expertly cut to bloom like a flower, its juices glistening appetizingly. The Rudendolf couple from Kirschu stares in shock at the breathing sausage, amazed that such a cut was even possible. The wife describes the meat juice nectar making her feel like a bee, praising the perfect harmony of crispy skin and succulent meat. While admitting the floral cut resembles their emperor's crest, The husband worries that traditionalists back home would call this sacrilege. Overcome with joy, they declare this the new way to eat wurst and vow to bring the wonder of Kirshu to the world. Takumi smiles as the couple thanks him, noting that his canned octopus sausages might finally become a hit at the World Expo. He realizes the existence of sausage in this world gives him a second chance to recreate dishes he had given up on. The Rudendolphs present Takumi with a large barrel as a token of gratitude, leaving him and Nyachi shocked by its contents. At the World Expo salon, aristocrats gossip about the ice-cold Sophia from the Craig Kingdom as she enters with an air of authority. Sophia confidently predicts the ice business will be a main attraction, though she secretly longs to visit Tsubame for an iced coffee. Sayas, the Silver Demon King, approaches a display, declaring he will buy the entire stock of a certain item without hesitation. Giddy with excitement for the opening day, Sayas rushes to finish his business so he can visit Tsubame immediately. A commotion erupts in the salon as the horned swordswoman, Theo, weeps and begs her master not to take away her sword. Feeling exposed as if naked without her blade, Theo is dragged away by her handler, number 12, while lamenting the cruelty. Theo spirals into a panic, convinced that her master is actually ordering her to strip by taking her weapon. She resolves to endure the punishment and obey, prompting number 12 to scream at her to stop the foolish imagination. Number 12 punches Theo to snap her out of it, yelling that she doesn't need to go that far with her delusions. Number 12 reminds Theo that weapons are prohibited in the salon and her outfit is attracting too much negative attention. Theo clings to her sword desperately, but number 12 orders her to wait downstairs if she absolutely cannot part with it. Sayas approaches Theo, intrigued by her massive weapon and asking if the blade she holds is actually real. He examines the giant sword, noting rumors of it being a cursed dark magic blade that attracts beasts just by being held. Theo defiantly declares she won't yield even if violated, confirming the blade is indeed a worst holy sword. Sayas surprises her by offering his own holy sword, sausages on sticks, revealing he is from the same country. A flashback shows the Rudendolphs reopening their stand, proudly displaying the worst holy sword, cooked Tsubame style. Theo recognizes the famous wurst shop from her homeland, nostalgic but confused by the strange shape of the sword Sayas holds. The merchant wields the sausage skewers like blades, demonstrating the Tsubame-style secret technique to the awestruck knight. He presents the kazurikiri cut sausage, declaring the worst holy sword is ready to be served. Theo panics as the tentacles of the sausage touch her tongue, fearing they are trying to violate her mouth. She struggles against the deliciousness, refusing to yield to the flavor that challenges her country's pride. Furious, Theo slams her table, shouting that cutting the emperor's sword into this indecent shape is blasphemy. Sayas interrupts her outburst, chiding that such violent behavior is inappropriate for the middle of a festival. He laughs, revealing he was just imitating the cute waitress from Tsubame, and confirms they secured the powder he asked for. The Rudendolphs wish him a good time at Tsubame, asking if he plans to return to Harpertown afterwards. Sayas skips away eagerly, leaving Theo confused about what Tsubame is while he warns her not to go overboard. Walking through the expo, Theo hears the name Tsubame everywhere and wonders if it's the name of a dubious cult. Number 12 finds Theo and whispers an urgent report. A small amount of the powder is missing. She grimly informs Theo that there is a good chance the dangerous substance was stolen. A flashback shows Sayas smiling with the word powder looming ominously in the background, connecting him to the theft. Theo suddenly dashes off, declaring she knows where to find it and must recover her honor immediately. The steam train chugs forward as Theo heads straight for Tsubame to confront the source of the mystery. The steam train chugs steadily along the tracks as Theo arrives at her destination, her mission to protect her master burning clearly in her mind. Nyachi joyfully pokes the soft dough that rivals the squishiness of her own cheeks, while Fidel and Takumi prepare for the evening's special meal. Theo wanders the streets in search of the mustache big old man, finally spotting the Tsubame signboard and realizing she has found the target. Peering through the window, she recoils in horror at the sight of warlocks, consuming a dark, muddy liquid inside the establishment. Her imagination runs wild as she interprets the cafe scene as a dark ritual to summon devils, convincing herself that this place is a den of evil. Takumi cheerfully explains the muddy drink is actually iced coffee, a popular new item, while Theo watches the mustache man with suspicion. Theo crouches in the shadows, overwhelmed by the perceived darkness and muttering that she would rather die than face such sorcery. She observes the customers and staff with bated breath, waiting for the moment the evil cult reveals its true nature. Takumi dramatically calls out to his slaves of Tsubame to heed him, cementing Theo's belief that she is witnessing a terrifying gathering. Sayas the Silver Demon King enters the scene, and Theo freezes as she recognizes the peculiar Naya speaking pattern from her intel. Sayas hands over a bag of addicting beans to Takumi, leading Theo to conclude that they are distributing dangerous drugs at a secret party. The men discuss Assam and Darjeeling with intense expressions, which Theo misinterprets as code words for illicit substances. Takumi frantically denies using those specific names, clarifying that the tea in this world operates under different rules. Theo watches in disgust as Sayas eagerly inhales the scent from a jar, confirming in her mind that the powder scandal is real. Takumi reveals the contents are actually rare flowers collected from the World Expo, his eyes sparkling with culinary passion. Overcome with emotion, Takumi trembles and struggles to hold back tears of joy at the sight of the precious ingredients. He excitedly lists the treasures including almond and potato starch, marveling at the amazing variety the World Expo has brought to him. His face falls momentarily as he realizes wheat flour is still missing, a stark reminder of the limitations he faces even with the Expo's help. Regaining his optimism, Takumi declares he can use oats and melons for new drinks just as the oven signals the food is ready. Theo turns pale with the sudden realization that she has made a massive blunder and these are not the dangerous criminals she sought. Desperate to escape her embarrassment, she decides to storm in, state her honest opinion to the manager, and leave with her dignity intact. Nyachi announces the start of the secret party to the regulars, and Theo braces herself for the confrontation. Theo takes a sip of the offered beverage and screams in shock, stunned that the beer is ice-cold yet incredibly delicious. She slams the mug down and lectures the room, claiming such a drink is reserved only for swordsmen who have performed distinguished service. Takumi and Sayas stare at her blankly before labeling her old-fashioned for hating the ice, triggering her temper instantly. Furious at the insult to her beer, Nyachi steps forward and demands a duel to settle the matter of honor. A golden aura erupts around Nyachi as she invokes the Fist of God, and Theo grimly accepts the challenge from the strange catgirl. The terms are set for a drinking battle, and Theo confidently grasps her mug, sure that the god of swords favors her. The onlookers place their bets on Nyachi while Theo smirks, boasting that her throat is seasoned by real battles. The signal is given, and both combatants lift their heavy mugs to their lips in a synchronized chug. Theo is hit by the refreshing sensation of the cold liquid, her eyes widening as the flavor washes over her senses. Unable to stop, she finds herself savoring the drink, marveling that beer could ever taste this good when served cold. She suddenly freezes with a brain freeze or hiccup, faltering for a split second while Nyachi continues to chug relentlessly. Nyachi slams her empty mug down in victory, leaving Theo staring in disbelief as the catgirl celebrates with a triple Naya. Defeated and humiliated, Theo bows her head and tells the shop staff they can do whatever they want with her. A tearful flashback reveals Theo's vow to her father to live by the sword, a path she clings to with desperate pride. She laments that guns are replacing swords in this new era, making her devotion to the blade feel like a fading relic. The tantalizing smell of freshly baked food snaps her out of her melancholy, and she looks up to see Takumi approaching. Takumi presents a galette-style dish made from the new flowers, the crust golden and the toppings glistening invitingly. Theo is outraged that they sliced the emperor's sword sausage so thin, but Nyachi ruthlessly shoves the delicious bite into her mouth. The sensation of the rich queso begins to coil tightly around her body, initiating an overwhelming culinary hallucination. She screams as the cheese binds her movements, realizing that the combination with the worst only intensifies the incredible flavor. A creamy, gooey layer bundles the ingredients together, trapping the fierce meat juices and tomato sauce inside the succulent dough. The flavors manifest visually before her stunned eyes, taking the imposing form of a massive, fortified castle. She shrieks in awe as the castle gates throw open to reveal hundreds of courageous worst knights charging toward her. Admitting total defeat to the overpowering deliciousness, she swoons with a flushed face and surrenders completely to Tsubame's cooking. Yu offers a new dish to the flustered knight, while a bearded patron laughs heartily about discovering yet another Tsubame addict. The knight drunkenly admits to Kurigane that she comes from a faraway land filled with strange and different cooking. Yu explains his mission to recreate his hometown's food bit by bit, causing the knight to recognize a shared longing in his eyes. Amidst the lively banquet, the knight muses that her sword might transform into something else entirely as the era changes around them. She holds up a corn dog and notes its resemblance to a hashiguramisu from her homeland, though she clings to her warrior's pride. She blushes fiercely upon realizing the food isn't tentacles, while Yu notes that the worst merchant made the exact same observation. Yu stares at her in sheer disbelief, demanding to know what kind of wild fantasies she had been entertaining regarding the food. A spy crouches in the shadows, expressing deep concern about the threat posed by the master of Tsubame. The subordinate presents the recovered powder to the mysterious leader, warning him again about the potential danger Yu represents. A hand tightens its grip around the vial of glistening substance as a sinister plan begins to take shape. The mastermind declares his absolute ambition to reshape the entire world using the power of the mysterious powder.